I just parked to do a very long knit and walk, about 5 miles to be exact, with the dogs. I have them back here. I've done this walk about a year ago. It's, if you're local to where I am, it's the Bridge to Bridge Stillwater walk. So it's the old Stillwater Bridge, and then you walk to the new Stillwater Bridge, and then do a whole loop. So it's about 5 miles. And I did this with the dogs a year ago, and I decided to bring the hat that I was knitting for my nephew last year, and I got almost the entire hat knit up just in that walk. It was about 3 hours long, and I've been a little bit slacking on my car project that I have right here. This is the project that I just leave in my car all the time. And these are just leg warmers that I'm knitting. I'm not using a pattern for them or anything. I'm just gonna knit them 2 at a time until the yarn runs out. And I've definitely talked about this pattern before, but this is my chosen project to walk with today because it's just knit 2, purl 2, which is pretty easy to remember. And yeah, I'm pretty excited for today. I hope to get a lot of this done, and I'll definitely show you how much I get done in the end. It got cold pretty quick here in like western Wisconsin. The feels like is like 32 today, and it's the warmest it's gonna feel all day, but I'm totally fine with it because I'm actually wearing a new hat that I just finished. It's the Ret hat by Hudson & West Co. And I used yarn from Uknit or Utopia fiber, and they're sustainable in this pretty green color, and I just love all of this cabling, and I realized it matches absolutely perfect with this cowl that I knit last year. I'm forgetting the name of it, but it is from Gudrun Johnston, and the color changing that you see here is actually my own hand spun. We made it to downtown Stillwater. Here's the old bridge that I used to drive on all the time, and then they closed it down. We're gonna walk all the way along the river there, past the boats, all the way to the new bridge, and over the new bridge, and then I parked at the top over there on the Wisconsin side. This used to be a drivable bridge, obviously, but it was really nice that they didn't get rid of it, and now it's just purely for pedestrians. A great place to knit and walk, especially because Darn It Anyway is just right back over there in case you need to stop and get some yarn. Say hi to Darn It. aka the cutest yarn shop, which also is my local yarn shop. The most beautiful sight after a 5-mile walk. Okay, I wish I put in a progress keeper so I could know for sure how much I knit, but I think I got like an inch or so done, which honestly is a good chunk considering I haven't gotten that much done yet on these leg warmers. But yeah, I would say it was a good, successful walk. Got some knitting in, got some sightseeing in. We're back by the cows. That's all the mooing you hear. And now it's time to go home and eat some dinner. You may have noticed my new to me jacket on my walk that I went on the other day. And it's my dream fall jacket. So it's vintage Ralph Lauren from Depop, and I think it's a men's jacket. It's kind of like a chore coat style, and it's fully quilted. It's kind of hard to see because of the dark pattern, but also I love the pattern of it. It's 100% lamb's wool for the outer layer. Think that's probably just polyester, and then the collar is real leather, and I love it. However, all of my bags that I currently own don't really go with the vibe of this whole jacket. I have a big boho style bag. Well, I guess I can show you. I have this kind of full leather style bag, but I think the contrast is just too high to the actual coat. I kind of like to have more low contrast accessories. And I have this other bag that I've had for like 7 years now. It's another like fake leather, slightly messenger style bag. I really like this one. However, it's too dark. So I want something that's kind of in the middle of these two bags. I like this shape and style of it, but I don't like that the fake leather has started to peel. So I think I'm in need of a new bag. When Babylon Leather reached out and asked if I was interested in making one of their DIY bag making kits, I perused the website to see all of the different types of bags that were available, and I was blown away by all the different styles that they had, and I jumped at the opportunity to make one for myself. Familiar with Babylon Leather, they are a company that makes DIY kits to hand sew your own bags. They say that they are beginner friendly, however, I still have to test that out for myself, but they offer detailed tutorial videos that you can follow along as you are making the bag yourself. If you get confused at any point in the making process, they do have a support team that will quickly answer any questions you may have about the process as well. The DIY kit uses top grain cowhide and full grain cowhide leather. It comes with pre-cut leather pieces, hardware accessories, straps, thread, and a toolkit. Everything you need to make a beautiful leather bag. The only thing the kit doesn't include that you'll need is a lighter to finish off the thread ends. You won't need to buy anything else. I will be making the leather saddle crossbody bag in the black and caramel colorway. I love how classic this bag looks. It kind of reminds me of like OG Dooney and Burke perhaps, but I kind of like the academic look to it as well, and I think it's really going to fit in with my style and the pieces that I have in my wardrobe. I'm going to challenge myself to make the entire bag in one day today, so we'll see if that's feasible. It says that I think it takes about 4 to 7 hours to make the bag, so if I don't get too confused along the process, hopefully I will be able to get it done before this evening, and if I do, I'll be sure to show you the final product. I'm not 100% convinced that I will be able to get this done in one day, more so related to my attention span, but the one that I picked out does seem to have a lot of details to it, so I'm hoping that it keeps my focus pretty well. So I just reached the 3-hour mark about. I think I may be halfway done. I have assembled the 3 main pieces of the bag together. So here, it might be kind of hard to see because it's black, but this is kind of the flap that goes over the bag. This is the front of it maybe, and then this is the bottom of the bag here. So far, I'm having a pretty good time with it. There were a couple times where I had to undo the stitching because I either used the wrong color thread at first or I just pieced it together incorrectly. But thankfully with the video tutorial, it makes it very easy to follow along because you can see exactly what they're doing. I would say it would be kind of nice if maybe there were written instructions, because there were points in time where I just wanted to read the instructions and keep going because I was listening to some music and I would have to pause the music to listen to the video. So yeah, I kind of wish that there were written instructions, but again, I'm happy that if there's only going to be one, that it's the video instructions because that's the most clear and easy to follow. I have been really enjoying working with the material that I have. First of all, the leather smells fantastic. It smells like leather. And the thread that is used is really nice. It's kind of like it has a wax coating on it. It kind of reminds me of like really thick dental floss in a way, but it just glides nice and smooth through these pre-punched holes where you stitch everything together. I think I'm going to keep going for a little bit. I might take a break eventually just to like allow my eyes a chance to rest and not be so focused on something. I have been using my little readers here. I've been using this for cross stitching lately, and then now for this as well. It's just helpful to have a little bit of magnification for that. I'm gonna keep on going to town on this bag, and I'll see you on the other side. Here it is, and I absolutely love it. I ended up loving it even more than I initially thought I would. Obviously, when you see things online, you don't have the same experience as if you were to touch them in person and feel them and smell it and all of that. And also the fact that I sewed this all up with my own hands makes it just that much more special. I'm sure a lot of you agree who make their own clothing or accessories. When you wear that piece, it's just, your day is a little bit better. And that's how I feel about this purse now too. So I'll give you a little tour of the bag. We have the front here, and it has this little faux buckle clasp. It's actually a little magnet, which is nice. And then on the inside, it's hard to tell because it's black, but there's this little pocket that you can stick anything in. Other than that, it's pretty open and structured inside, which I really like because it makes it easier to find things. And then it has two options for straps. So there's the crossbody strap, which you can adjust with the belt loops, and that's how I prefer to wear my purses, so I just don't even have to keep tugging it up my shoulder, or I just don't have to think about it. But the small strap is really cute for like a little shorter purse like that, maybe for a little dressier occasion or something. But I also like having it just hang down even with the long strap on. You also may notice I put a couple of accessories on here. First of all, I have this Dooney and Burke coin purse, and the leather looks so similar, and even the trim, it really works well with this. This was my grandma's old coin purse, so it has sentimental value, of course, and I'm not really sure what I'll put in it because I don't really use change. Maybe my Aldi quarter will live in here, and if I find some cool rocks or something. But I just like the way that it looks on the bag. And then I also added this little pin that I got from Woolen Twine. She's a natural yarn dyer based out of Germany, and she had this pin in her shop, and I thought it was super cute. So I stuck it through one of the little holes here, and yeah, that's how I stylized my new bag. By the way, Babylon Leather has offered a discount code to all of you, and I will put the code on the screen right here, but it's for 10% off your purchase. And I'll also include the link in the description below. On top of the exclusive 10% off code, there will be an additional 30% off on their website that is valid from November 21st through December 5th. It can be combined with a total savings of 40% off. If you are interested in making your own bag, now would be a great opportunity to purchase a DIY kit. So as of like 2 weeks ago, I was not planning on making any holiday gifts this year, but that changed very quickly. Once I sat down and started thinking about everything, I went from knitting nothing to then having 5 projects to get done before it's time to give them to everybody. And I'm keeping them like to a smaller accessory, but it's still quite a bit. 3 of them are going to be socks, so it's like pairs, which is even more knitting, but I'm very excited about them, and I really love the color palette that I chose for these projects, and I'm going to show you what I'm planning on making this year. before we go any further, if you're my mother or my sister or really anyone else in my family, now would be the time to turn off. I've learned that from the past. So the first project is going to be for my mom, and it's the 3 pairs of socks, but they're not going to be full length socks. They're going to be like ankle house slipper type socks. And there's 3 specific ones that I've been wanting to knit for a very long time. And I think she'll be the perfect recipient for it. And I don't know why I feel the need to knit 3 of them as opposed to just 1 and then get her a couple other things. But there's something about a set of 3 that just feels very complete. And all of these socks are going to tie in together because they're all going to be more of that ankle length sock, but with different patterns made by different designers using different colored yarns. But I think it's going to really tie in together well. I went onto the Woolly Thistle to get some sock yarn for it because the 3 ones that I want to knit, well, 2 of them are all using Rauma garn, and I forgot what the third one was, but to keep it all cohesive, I wanted all 3 to be Rauma. And Woolly Thistle is a seller of Rauma. They also sell a lot of beautiful, like, woolly type yarns, so you're not going to see as much superwash indie dyed. I think it's more like coming from woolen mills is kind of the vibe of what they carry. All that to say is I have the yarn in my position for what I'm going to make. And the first one I plan on making, by the way, they are all from 52 Weeks of Socks Volume 2. So I'll show you right on the page of the book. This is one of the pairs I'm going to make. It's the Ofidi from Elena Solier Jansa. I have knit Elena's patterns before. Well, one for sure. I made a shawl that she designed in 52 Weeks of Shawls, and it's my hands down favorite shawl. So I'm really excited to knit another pair of her socks. And you'll see here the construction kind of has more of a structured slipper type look to it. And I think with a lot of them, you start casting on the heel and then you knit down to the foot. And it reminds me of those like Norwegian style mittens. One design on the palm and then a different design on the hand. I get that same kind of feel with these socks. And the fact that they're knit with multiple colors means it'll be extra warm because it'll be double the thickness of the yarn going around. So the yarn that I plan on using for this pattern is the Rauma Garn 3-trad Strikkegarn. I'm definitely not pronouncing that right, but it's these 2 right here. This is color 1287 and this is 164. Every single time I flip through this 52 Weeks of Socks book, I notice a different sock pattern every time that I swear I didn't remember from before. And it just makes it really fun if I'm in the mood to knit a pair of socks, just flipping through the book and getting excited about a random pair and then jumping into stash because I have plenty of sock yarn, so I have everything I need to knit any pattern on a here. And that's one of the things I really like about sock knitting is it takes like less planning in terms of how much yarn you need to purchase. You pretty much are good with a skein no matter what. That was a little bit of a tangent. The next pattern that I'm going to make in the set is the Hilda by Kristin Drysdale. And it has a really nice flower motif on it. And again, the bottom of the sock is going to be a different pattern. I really like this specific one because I'll be giving my mom these gifts in December, and quickly after December, I for sure get into like spring mode almost. And I'm sure a lot of other people are the same way. So I like that the socks have a little bit more of a spring feel to it. And the yarn that I'm going to knit for these is also the Rauma 3-Trad Strikkegarn. And I'm going to do the green as the main background color, and then the cream is going to be the flower motif. I decided to do the darker one as the dominant color because it'll probably get less dirty or dirty looking, I guess. If I made like cream a main color, I just feel like there's a higher chance of it getting dirty. So I like keeping it the darker colors. And then the third sock that I am making for her, I actually already started. I'll show you the picture of it. This is the Spadok by Radchenko. And this one uses 3 different colors, whereas the other 2 only used 2 colors. I think the bottom of these socks is my favorite out of the 3. It's just so pretty. So I'll go ahead and show you the yarn that I'm using. This is also Rauma, and it's the Finull. I've actually knit socks with this yarn before. It was like the second pair of socks I ever made. It was a Colorwork sock by Sari Nordland, and they have held up so well. They even got into the wash by accident, and so they felt it a little bit, but they didn't really shrink too much, so they feel extra strong and sturdy. I'll have to show you them sometime. These are the 3 colors that I'm using for these socks. I have this navy as the main color, and then these lighter 2 as the contrast, and I'll show you how far I am with that. So this is the back of the heel, and then this is the bottom of the heel, so it'll be like the bottom of the foot. And I'm already having so much fun. It really hasn't taken me much time to knit these up. I will say though, I did have to restart them once already because I originally had this light tan color as the main color, and then these 2 as the contrast. Well, to no one's surprise, these 2 colors, they're too close together where you couldn't really see the defined pattern. And then this was just kind of a random dark color going throughout, so it didn't look great. And I didn't read the spot where it said to catch the floats every 3 stitches. I was like barely catching any of my floats because I heard that makes Colorwork socks a little bit stretchier. With all that said, I'm glad I had a second opportunity to restart the socks, and I really wasn't too far. I was maybe about like down to here, so I had like the whole heel done, and I had done that all just in one night, so it didn't feel as bad to have to rip it out. But now I really think that the darker background just looks so much more striking against the contrast colors. And also I'm catching the floats a lot more. It's a little hard to see, but they look so much better on the inside. And I just like the way that the pattern's coming up in this as well. Those are the socks that I'm making for my mom. And then I kind of thought, because I'm sure there's going to be leftover yarn from these socks, so I kind of intentionally made them all look pretty nice together. It's a little hard to hold them up. But yeah, I thought they looked pretty together. So I'm going to make my friend a hot water bottle cover, specifically the one from Laura Penrose. I think it is the Maxine water bottle color. I've been dreaming of making this ever since I saw it. I decided instead of making one for myself right away, it would be fun to make one for my friend because I think they'll really appreciate having a hot water bottle. I ended up buying one from Purl Soho because I got some other yarn for another gift that I'll show you. But I saw that they had hot water bottles on their website, and I really liked the cream color. I have one that's just like a really bright cherry red, and it's not like my favorite color. I know it's just like a water bottle, but I don't know, I just like having all the colors of the things in my house be cohesive with each other. And so again, I just think a nice plain cream one looks really well, and it'll look nice with the color palette of yarn that I'm going to make the Maxine hot water bottle cover in. The last project I'm making is another project for my sister. I did just recently knit her a sweater, or like a t-shirt sweater, for her birthday, and she loved it so much, and she wears it to work all the time. We work together, and so it's really just satisfying seeing her especially wear pieces that I make, because she's very enthusiastic about them, and she's just very knit worthy overall. So I wanted to make her something else, because I sent out like a wish list gift guide to my family, and because sometimes it's hard to figure out what people want for gifts, and I thought I would just make it easier for them, especially if it was stuff that I really know that I'm gonna use, and that way they don't have to question it. But anyways, so my sister liked that idea, so she ended up making one for herself and her kids as well, and her husband. On her wish list, she wanted this cashmere hat from Quince, and I think the hat was like $40 maybe. So I thought, well, I can make that, and I'll spend more money buying the yarn and putting in my own personal labor for it, but it'll be a handmade version of that same hat, and I think she'll really like it. And so I originally was thinking about using Cardiff cashmere. I've never used it before. I've never purchased it. I hear people talk about it and how wonderful it is, but I also hear them talk about how expensive it is. And I was like, well, how expensive is expensive? And so I went to check it out, and it's pretty expensive. I feel like it was $30-something for 25 grams of it. And I do think that price is warranted. I definitely believe in fair pay for everybody. And I know it's not cheap to process all of that, but that was just out of my own personal budget. And so I ended up going to Purl Soho, because I know they have a few different selections of cashmere yarn, because I've actually knit with cashmere merino bloom before, which is like a blend of merino and cashmere. And so I ended up finding some 100% cashmere yarn, and it's the Nigh Aran. In this gray colorway, because she requested either gray or black for the beanie that she wanted from Quince, and I don't really feel like knitting with black yarn. And so this is the silver poplar colorway, and it's Aran weight, so it's nice and thick. It's going to be a quick knit up, because I'm going to knit the Purl Soho hat that everyone knits. Is it the Watchman cap? Can't remember, but they made it in Nigh Aran, or like an Aran weight version of it. So that's the pattern I'm going to use, and it's free, so even better. And it looked very similar to the style of the hat she wanted. Like the shaping was similar at the top, and the brim was similar. I was kind of thinking about knitting her a weekender hat again by Petite Knit, because I just really like the way that hat pattern fits, but it's a lot of knitting because it has a triple fold brim on it, and I think it would require skinnier yarn than this, so it would take a bit longer. And I'm on a little bit of a deadline here, even though it's only mid-November, but I kind of scheduled out the projects, and I need to finish one project a week approximately. in order to get all of these gifts done by the time I need to give it to the people. So that's my goal. And I decided if I finish a project in a week, I'm not going to immediately jump into a new project. I think I'm going to knit on some old whips just so I can get a little bit of time in on those if I finish even. Yeah, I'm going to be a very busy person. And I'm okay with that. It's kind of weird, but the color palette I chose for all of this is just really calming, earthy tones. So I feel really relaxed making everything, and all of the projects are in little bite-sized pieces and like with different patterns for each sock and making the Maxine water bottle cover. I think it's really going to keep my attention the whole time, and I won't really get sick of making any of these gifts. And so that's kind of how I planned it. I want to enjoy it myself. That's part of the whole process and like the love that I'm putting into these projects. I think I need to stop yapping about these projects and actually sitting down to knit on these projects. I think I'm going to keep working on these socks for a little bit, or maybe even for the rest of the night. We'll see how far I get. I just sat down to watch the Vikings play the Bears. My friend and I decided that we were going to watch all the Vikings games this year. And I've got to say, it's a very cozy way to spend a Sunday. This isn't like news to anybody, but especially as a knitter or a crafter of any kind, just kind of like having that time every Sunday to sit down, watch your local sports team and work on a project is just like a nice little ritual to have in the fall and winter season. But that's not why I have you here today. I am actually about to ply up some yarn that I am knitting for a project. So I had some fiber from Yarn Jam for the Fleece Force colorway this year for Tour de Fleece. And it's just this beautiful color that Trisha and Casey from Young Poke Knits and I kind of collaborated and created together. And I finally got around to knitting up the first skein that I spun up. And what I am making is this right here. This is the Nightlights Shawl by Andrea Mowry. And I've been thinking about knitting this one for quite a while. I really like her shawls because she often uses handspun in them, so they're really nice to knit up using your own handspun. But the special thing about the way I spun up this yarn, which is the multicolor section here, is you can see there's more of a gradient through the colors as opposed to that barber pole effect where all of the colors are blended together. And the way that I do that is by chain plying the yarn together instead of plying 3 different strands together at once. And I kind of wanted to show you how I do that in case you aren't a spinner and are curious about different ways to construct yarn, or if you're a new spinner and want to know how to make a gradient, or if you just want to watch me spin some yarn. So yes, I'm going to show you how I do that today because the plying technique is very different from how you would traditionally ply some yarn together. But before I show you that, I did just want to show you what the single looks like. So I have the single all spun up on this one bobbin here. This is a 4-ounce braid on here. And in the shawl, I am pairing it with this Pishkin. It's my first time knitting with Pishkin. This is from Farmer's Daughter Fibers. It's just this beautiful, lofty yarn, and I think it's worsted weight because I know they have a Pishkin DK, and I think this one's worsted weight. But the color I thought was really pretty. It's called Cross Current, and I just thought it paired well with this particular yarn because it has some of this color in the single, but it's not overpowering where you lose the colors together. There's still enough of a contrast to see the difference between the two. So that's the yarn that I'm using to knit up this shawl. But yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and show you how I spin or chain ply this yarn. So the classic way to ply a 3-ply yarn together would be to take 3 different strands of your single and ply them all together at once. So you have 3 different strands plying into the one yarn. But to do a chain ply, you only use 1 strand of a single, and it's kind of exactly what it's called, you chain ply together. So it's kind of like a crochet technique. So like if you're a crocheter, you know how to chain ply and crochet. It's kind of the same thing with plying this all together. So I have my leader yarn right here, and I'm going to make sure that I spin in the opposite direction of how I spun the singles up. I always spin my singles going clockwise, and then I always ply them going counterclockwise. And to get started, again, I have my leader here. I'm gonna run my single through this little loop here. I make like a little loop and then pull the yarn through. So I've created this little chain here. That's a better view. And then I start spinning. And I keep pulling the thread through to make this chain. Please don't use this as an actual tutorial, because I fully recognize it's kind of hard to really see what I'm doing. But you can kind of tell this is how I'm able to get the gradient color effect, because I'm just plying the yarn in on itself. So as the color changes throughout the single, that's how it changes throughout the ply together as well. This is also a great way if you are spinning up a 3-ply, the like traditional way to do it, and you're left with one long strand of single but no other singles left of the other 2, you can just chain ply the rest of that one strand, so you use up all of the singles instead of having any leftovers. So now you can see I've kind of moved into more of a blue color, and we're out of the orangey, and that's how it's going to appear on the bobbin as well. I'm not doing this as well as I could be because I'm watching myself in the camera spin this up. So I think I'm going to watch the game a little bit and just zone in on plying up this yarn, and that way I'll have it ready for the second half of the shawl that I'm knitting.
hope you can see me okay. It's a very sunny day today, which I definitely needed because it's been extremely cloudy this last week. But I finished plying up the yarn. And you can kind of see how the colors are a little bit more gradient instead of blended together. It'll look a lot more obvious when I wind it into a skein. You'll be able to see the color changing a little bit easier that way. I think this is a really fun way to ply up yarn. It's a bit more interactive with constantly moving your hands. I will say though, there's a little bit of a learning curve. Maybe not so much a learning curve, but the yarn, it's, for me, not as consistent. But I don't mind it. I truly believe that handspun yarn has so much life in it, even beginner spun yarn to advanced spun yarn. It all looks so nice, and it all especially knits up very well. When I first was learning how to spin, it was on School of Sweet Georgia, which is like a monthly membership that has a ton of different videos for fiber arts. I learned how to weave on there, dye yarn, spindle spin, so much. And one of the instructors was saying how knitting is so forgiving to your spinning. So no matter how perfect or organic your spinning yarn looks, it's going to show up very even in your knitting anyways. And I'll go ahead and show you what I mean. So I showed you how not perfectly even this yarn is in terms of the 3-ply. Like there's thick and thin areas. But take a look at my knitting. It's truly hard to really even see that. And I'll show you the wrong side because it's a little bit easier to see the contrast yarn. To me, I just see bouncy yarn full of life and not so much thick and thin. So all that to say is, yes, chain plying, at least for me, is a lot harder to look consistent, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter. I think the joy of spinning or knitting up your own handspun yarn definitely outweighs the need to make it perfect. I'm going to transport myself back to the couch so I can continue knitting and finishing watching this Vikings game, which currently is 3-0 Vikings, but as a Vikings fan, if you are one too, you very much know that could quickly change. I'm working on my mom's sock that I'm going to gift her, and I have to say it's turning out very beautiful. I'll actually show you an update real quick again because I've knit a bit further on it and you can see the main foot pattern coming through, and I think it's really pretty. Here is where I'm at with the sock. So it kind of appears that this would be the toe, but it's actually the heel. So you can see this is like what the heel is gonna be, and then this right here is the foot, so the toe will be down here. But yes, there's the top of the pattern, and I really like the way the bottom of the foot looks too. That's just something you cannot get with store-bought socks, just this attention to detail with having a different pattern on the bottom as the top. I think that's just one of the many reasons that hand knitting is just so magical.